is a globally acclaimed and award-winning board game designer with extensive international experience, having designed over 20 successfully published games for companies worldwide.
Oh my god, I can't even make one.
Some of his notable works include Overbooked for Jungle Netherlands, the Artemis Project for Grand Gamers Guild USA, Remember Our Trip for Sashi and Sashi Japan and DLP Germany, and Walk and Roll in Pantopia for Orchids Singapore. Daryl loves collaborations and designs with the purpose of spreading happiness and culture. The games produced through our game are the closest to his heart. Our game designs, publishes, and champions modern Asian board games. I love that.
Yeah, we saw some of that.
Yes.
And actually, you can still go to that
If
area
you
and
want
see
to
it.
check out some very nice homebrew
I saw this Pawikan. Ah, it's so adorable.
So obviously Pawikan is a local Filipino game.
Yes.
Like probably their Japanese games
Yes,
as well.
yeah, I'm gonna
But
look
yeah.
into that list later.
But yeah, our game collaborates with creative Asian talent to create fun, meaningful, and beautiful board games that tell stories about our Asian culture and heritage. Our game is also home to Asia's largest English-speaking board game event, the Asian Board Games Festival.
Wow.
Mhm.
When is that? I want to get in on
Oh,
that.
wait, we'll have to research
We'll
it.
have to research and talk about it.
Okay, so I guess we're
And you know what? And we know that people are like,
So
in the
busy.
middle of the games and also doing their own shit. You will be able to like hear what our two panelists will be able to talk about this afternoon. And if you have questions, actually,
yeah,
later on,
we
you
all
can.
invite you. We're just here at the center stage. If you
Yeah, if
have
you wanna
any
gather.
questions about starting out, like your tabletop game
Yes.
development journey, I mean,
We've had.
there are some creators in the tabletop scene here in the Philippines who have successfully also published material for
Yes.
like Wizard of the Coast, like Enter the Citadel or something. Oh my
You're
God,
no-
Dungeons and Dragons people don't come for me.
You're more knowledgeable than I am.
There's a really recent book that was collaborated with a lot of creators, and it's a very rich because it's very representative.
Well, let's get to know more about these kinds of things with Daryl and Ron, shall we?
Okay, so again, guys, we invite you to come here to the center of the stage and listen to the conversation between Ron and Daryl.
Thank you very much. So, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Daryl.
Hello.
Welcome to Manila.
That's nice. It's great to be here.
So, first up, how was the flight?
The flight was fine, but the airport.
Of course, very welcome. First taste of Philippine culture. Okay, first up is, how did you get started into, because Daryl Chow, you're a doctor,
Yeah.
and Dr. On, if you can expand a little bit.
I have a doctorate in linguistics, and my dissertation was on Singaporean English.
Oh, okay. And how did, from going into linguistics, how did that transition into game design and into game publishing?
I mean, yeah, the funny thing is, we always talk about this with other designers, because board games is such a new industry. Most people who are in the industry came from a different industry.
Right.
But the funny thing is that because, especially making board games, it's such a very varied and you need skills. You need all sorts of skills to do board game design. I'm sure you know that. Having designed games yourself. So even linguistics, I can use it in my games.
Right. So you were able to use your background, the doctorate degree to sort of the lessons on linguistics, you're able to apply it into gaming.
Yeah, but I don't need it so much here, but like when I travel around Asia, knowing different languages helps.
Of course, and I think that's also, so I got to visit Asian Board Game Festival last year, and thank you very much. It's such a cool event. Um, and it's really sort of sharing different cultures of game design all in one nice
Yeah.
boiling pot. Can you share more about how that got started? What was your goal or dream about it, aspiration about it?
Um, yeah, I think all along, Asian board games have been very close to me. I was playing. I mean, I've been playing board games for maybe almost maybe 20 years now. But I may remember like the first time I played games from Asia, I was pretty impressed. Like I think one of the first few, probably Love Letter, but I think there was some from Korea as well, some from Taiwan, and then so actually these games were the ones that started to kind of inspire me, that or at least show me that there are industries growing all around Asia, and each of these games they tell different stories.
Right.
Um, so I always wanted to promote Asian board games, and my opportunity to do that came um, when there was an event in Singapore that was happening, and I think because like as an independent board game publisher, especially in Asia, you have very little chance to kind of show your games um, and expand your markets to get sales, because you're always being kind of flooded by Western media.
We get drowned out.
Yeah, you get drowned out, and even for you, like for example, being in the Philippines, your games are still less well known than
Yes.
even other Asian designers maybe.
But how is the board game scene in Singapore? Because I had a very different view when I got there as compared to what it's here. It felt more mature, a little bit more accepting of people on tabletop in general.
I think it's quite complex. I mean, I've been living there the past 5 years, and I'm still trying to kind of get my finger on the pulse of the scene. But I think so. One of the things about Singapore is that everybody speaks English, just like in the Philippines, and that allowed us to kind of grow um, I guess, community much earlier than the rest. I think we had our first board game cafe like in early 2000s, like maybe 2003. And so that has been around for over 20 years now. But I think in like the last 5 years or so, it's been, I think COVID actually helped with this.
Okay.
We started to get a lot more families and young people playing board games. And I think that's what you experienced when you came to Asian Board Game Festival. And actually that's the crowd that I think we Board Game at least we are trying to make for, because that as I mentioned, the gamer community, they all have their kind of taste.
Yeah, they're fanboys already of the big
Yeah, exactly. So they know what they're going to buy, but we are trying to make games that are easy to understand, and when people see these games, they feel like these games are being made for them, and
Right.
and they are.
Speaking of which, so for me, what was really impressive when I visited Asian Board Game Festival, we went to a 7-Eleven, and I kid you not, in 7-Eleven you can buy these games, and that for me is like a measurement of okay, you've reached enough popularity that your games is available on a convenience store. That's not yet possible here. When you mentioned that you wanted sort of a representation, how is it important in incorporating the Singapore culture, the Singapore history and details about Singapore that really related to your game.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, I wanted people to feel like when they look at the box, this is a game that is made um, for me, likely made by people like me. Um, and so I know a lot of Asian board game designers, they try to shy away from using Asian themes. Um, in fact, I would say that maybe more Western publishers, more Western designers use more Asian themes than Asians themselves. I mean, I'm glad to see in Philippines actually you guys have a lot of very local themes. But for me, um, because it's my own publishing company and now I can do what I wanted, and I wanted to tell stories through games. I mean, there is definitely that challenge because when you choose themes that are very local, your audience is also restricted by your theme.
Yes.
So it's been tough for us to kind of sell these games to like overseas outside Singapore. But there are some games in which we're able to kind of find a nice common ground, like say Walk and Roll.
Yeah.
So Walk and Roll is about a Singaporean Chinese restaurant, but actually there are Chinese restaurants everywhere in the world. So
Right.
when you see the cover of that box, it looks like a Chinese restaurant, and you probably don't even know that it's a Singaporean Chinese takeout box, but people still understand that that's the theme of the game.
Right.
And Orchids is another one.
Yes, my favorite your
Okay.
sign.
Yeah.
As you can see, I had mine signed. If you guys are here and you can visit, you're still here tomorrow, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, Daryl Chow is here also tomorrow. Come get his games. This is, may I kind of try to describe it?
Sure. Please.
So this is like Splendor-led for the core gamers. If you want something accessible that you can share with your friends, it's their first time in gaming, this is one of those that is so powerful because you can get them into gaming with the least amount of rules and so fast, yet there's so much decision at play. And I really like it because it really went into my arsenal of demoing games. Because whenever you meet somebody new, and you bring out a bit more core game, they get intimidated. But the games that, at least from the lineup here, they're very accessible.
Yeah. I mean, that was the goal. I mean, actually, I come from a strategy game background, and some of the games that I design are like 2-3 hours long. And, I mean, that's the kind of games that that we play personally, but these are not the games that people in our markets play.
Right.
And it's very easy to kind of give up and make games that are like Uno clones or Monopoly Deal clones. So with all my orchids, I wanted to make a game that was really simple to learn, but still gave even if the gamers play, they would still enjoy it because there's still the depth of decision making that is not obvious, but that emerges through as you play the game.
And the theme is fantastic as well. These are on the cover is your national flower, right? So as a Singaporean, you see this game, you know that it's something you're related to. Your parents, your grandparents are probably collecting orchids. It's always going to be at home. This is very Singapore.
Yeah.
This is
more Singaporean.
this is the most Singaporean culture. It's a game about preserving tables. Right? And you put something there, and in Singapore, if you put something there, nobody will touch your table anymore.
Tissue paper.
Just the tissue paper, you're good. So this is that game. And that's pretty impressive to be able to sort of gamify culture, and then but still make it accessible.
Yeah.
In terms of what is your thought process in designing sort of accessible yet engaging games?
think just experiencing life, and I mean, all of us experience it on a daily basis. Try to see what is meaningful to your culture and try to see if that translates into a game mechanic that is intuitive. So for me, I think I know I have a game when I have an interesting mechanic that matches also to a theme that is interesting. So, I mean,
Do you think about this is a very common thing that
Yes.
people ask me. Do you think about theme first or mechanic first?
I think it's important to think about both all the time.
Right.
Um, sometimes you have mechanics that fit themes, but sometimes you have good themes and you have good mechanics but they don't fit.
Right.
So sometimes it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
You just got to step aside and either use that theme for another mechanic or use that mechanic for another theme. I think, I mean, having designed games for 15 years now, I think the important thing is to be patient because you're always going to find things down the road that you don't know now, but you will know in the future. So you either learn about new themes or new mechanics in the future that you can kind of match with existing things that you know now. So yeah, be patient and don't rush to kind of misfit themes and mechanics.
Right. With board gaming, it takes years to test. Especially for smaller groups, for smaller design houses, if you're just relying on your weekly meetups, there's no. When I experienced sort of an international publishing, they had formal groups that do the testing, something
Yeah,
that it's
army
not,
of playtesters.
right? So it's not as easy in the local scene to do it in the same scale. Cool. So how do you? So one of the things that I've learned as well is that you have to somehow market your games. They're not gonna sell themselves because there's so many games. There's 5,000-10,000 games titles every year, and we're gonna put another title from ours. How do you engage the local market? What is your current? What are you doing in Singapore? That for you it seems to be working.
I mean, it's marketing is always a challenge because you're not just competing. You're competing with Western games, but you're also competing with lots of other types of media. There's constant noise all the time. This year, I guess our plan was to kind of collaborate with existing brands that that people don't really associate with board games, but we're actually making games with these brands that they can use and sell in their store, and also bring knowledge of their brand to a younger audience, or to audience with like to a demographic that they may not have seen before, and then at the same time, it gives Origame a chance to kind of reach out to demographics that would never have otherwise played games before. Yeah.
Do you host game nights or do you support libraries? Or what are the other sort of grassroots activities?
Occasionally, we try our best to attend events all around Singapore and internationally. Like I'm here now.
Yes, thank you very much.
I was just in Game Market in Tokyo last week, and I was in Board Game Con in Seoul the week before.
Nice.
So
it is important to be present and be engaging with the local market.
yeah,
To get them to know your game.
I mean, I think for Origame, the local and market is as important as the international market,
Right.
and we make games for both markets. And of course, the big events that we have in Singapore. So we have the Asian Board Game Festival in November, like you mentioned, but we are also
Excited for that.
Yeah, and we have a new event that is being held at the last week of June as well.
Okay. Cool. All right. terms of growth, what are you now looking at in terms of how are you? Is there an idea for expansion? Are you targeting to distribute elsewhere, or maybe put up publishing expansion in other regions? What are you looking at the moment?
I mean, one of the more interesting things to me is going to all the different Asian markets and trying to understand how they work and what kind of games will sell well in each of these markets. So that's why I've kind of been traveling a little bit, and I'll be traveling a lot more in the rest of the year. I mean, I'm happy just to sell, to go to different places and try to be present in these different markets, because I think, especially for within Asia, I think I want people to know that there's an Asian publisher that is making games about Asia for people in Asia. Yeah.
And how is your reception to Origin in terms of where are you now distributing it? I know, of course, in the Philippines, we have your games are available here. Well, which other Asian countries do you guys have that your games are made available?
So I mean, the past few countries that I've been to, I think like Japan, Korea, we have people there that are selling our games. Taiwan as well, Malaysia, Hong Kong, but we are kind of slowly getting into more places. Because I mean, every new market is basically like a new adventure. Every market is different. I think to me that's kind of what I like about Asia as well, right? Like even within Asia, all the populations are so different and all the tastes are so different. It's kind of, yeah, it's like a new adventure every time, going in and trying to discover what kind of games different populations like. I mean, good thing now is that all the game now we have quite a wide range of games.
Around 15, 20 games, right?
I think less than 15, but by the end of this year, should have closer to 20.
Oh, wow. Okay. And so, before we wrap up, so you've been, you arrived already a few days in. In terms of the food, our audience, I'm pretty sure they want to ask, what have you tried? What did you like in the foods that you have tried already, the local dishes? If there's one or any one that you remember.
I mean, I always like lechon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I mean, I grew up eating Filipino food also.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So,
all right. So,
yeah, I'm quite
very
familiar.
familiar. Adobo,
Yeah.
sinigang. Okay. Yeah, we'll try to make it easy for that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, thank you everyone for joining us today. It's been super cool, Daryl. Thank you for visiting and sharing your culture, sharing through the games that you designed. Thank you for also being the access point for the rest of the Asian designers. So I, for one, for example, wouldn't have experience exposing my games to Singapore. So something that I'm very grateful for. Are there any message for our future designers to wrap things up and send them home?
I think just be patient, like I mentioned. I think that's very important. Try to develop your skills and not just one product. I think learning to think about games is as important as learning about making games. I think Asia doesn't lack creativity or imagination, but they lack development, which is basically being able to take good ideas and make them into even better products.
Fine-tune.
Yes. So that skill is very important for us to take Asia to the next level.
Okay. All right, so thank you everyone for joining us today. Until next time, see you. Bye.